You walk into a room. Within seconds, your brain has already decided who is in charge. And it is almost never the person with the loudest voice. The loudest person in the room is usually the most desperate, the most insecure, the one scrambling to claim territory they do not actually own. Meanwhile, someone else is standing quietly in the corner, barely speaking, and yet every pair of eyes keeps drifting back to them. Every conversation orbits around their presence, like planets around a hidden sun. You feel it. Everyone feels it. But nobody can explain it. This is the invisible hierarchy. You never agreed to it. You never signed up. But the moment you walked through that door, your brain started running ancient calculations, scanning posture, measuring eye contact, analyzing vocal tone, and within 3 seconds, it assigned you a rank. 3 seconds. That is all it takes. Here is what makes this terrifying. You are not just being ranked. You are signaling your rank to everyone else without saying a single word. Your body is broadcasting. Your breathing is transmitting. And the people who understand this, they are reading you like an open book while you stand there thinking you are in control. This is what I call subliminal dominance. Power that operates beneath conscious awareness. Power that needs no title, no corner office, no loud introduction. It is a signal, a frequency, and either you are transmitting it or you are receiving it and obeying. History proves this in the most unsettling way. Consider Rasputin, a peasant, a mystic with no education, no wealth, no official position. Yet he walked into the Russian imperial court and made the most powerful family in Europe bend to his will. Nobles described meeting him and feeling an inexplicable compulsion to submit. They could not explain it. They hated themselves for it. But they could not resist it. Eventually, the only solution they could imagine was assassination. They poisoned him, shot him, beat him, threw his body in a frozen river. That is how dangerous his presence had become. Not his army, not his money, not his title, his presence. And here is the part that should keep you awake tonight. You are currently losing status in every interaction without realizing it. Every meeting, every negotiation, every first date, every family dinner. Invisible signals are being exchanged, hierarchies are being established, and you are playing a game you do not even know exists. The aggressive alpha myth? That is a distraction, a decoy for amateurs. Real control is quiet. Real dominance is felt, not heard. And the people who master this move through the world collecting opportunities while everyone else fights over scraps. Over the next few minutes, I am going to show you 5 specific mechanisms that bypass the conscious mind entirely. 5 power moves that the influential use to control rooms without ever raising their voice. But here is where the trap is set. The first move is so subtle, so counterintuitive, that most people do the exact opposite, and they destroy their status before they even open their mouth. So you walk into a room, a meeting, an interview, maybe just a conversation that matters more than you would like to admit. And without realizing it, you have already lost. This is move number 1, the geometry of submission. Here is what happened. Someone sat down before you did. They took the higher chair, the one at the head of the table, the seat that forces everyone else to angle their bodies towards them. You thought nothing of it. You waited politely. Let them settle in first, found whatever spot was left, and in that moment, your brain registered something you will never consciously remember. You looked up at them, physically. Your chin lifted. Your eyes rose. That tiny motion just rewired your psychology. Your nervous system does not distinguish between looking up at a mountain and looking up at a person. Both trigger the same ancient response: smallness, deference, the biological recognition that something above you commands attention. This is not metaphor. This is neuroscience. When your gaze tilts upward, your brain releases subtle signals of compliance. Your posture softens. Your voice drops in authority. You become, in ways you cannot detect, slightly more agreeable, slightly more willing to follow. And the person sitting above you? They feel it too. Their confidence inflates. Their words carry more weight, not because they are smarter, not because they deserve it, but because geometry handed them the throne. Now here is where it gets darker. The people who understand this do not stumble into the power seat by accident. They take it, deliberately, before anyone else has a chance to think. This is what is called calculated rudeness. You have been trained your whole life to wait, to defer, to let others go first, because that is what polite people do. And that training, it was never designed to help you. It was designed to make you predictable, controllable, easy to position. The person who sits first, who claims the elevated chair without asking permission, sends a very specific message. They do not need your approval to act. They do not require social validation before making a move. Watch how this plays out. Most people read this behavior as arrogance, as rudeness. They judge it. They dismiss it. And while they are busy feeling morally superior, they have already submitted to the geometry. The chair trick works precisely because polite people refuse to believe it exists. Think about your last negotiation, your last important meeting. Where did you sit? Did you choose? Or did you accept whatever position was left after everyone else settled in? Your answer reveals more about your power in that room than anything you actually said. And here is the uncomfortable truth. You can know this. You can understand every word I just told you. And the next time you walk into a room, you will still hesitate. Still wait. Still surrender the high ground because breaking that conditioning feels wrong. That hesitation is exactly what they are counting on. But the geometry of submission is just the setup, because what happens after you sit down, that is where the real manipulation begins. Most people think talking is power. They are wrong. Move number 2, the weaponization of silence. You know that feeling. That unbearable pressure when someone just stops talking. When they look at you and say nothing. Your chest tightens. Your mind races. And before you can stop yourself, words start pouring out of your mouth. You explain. You justify. You apologize for things you never did wrong. This is the freeze state. And right now, someone in your life is using it against you. Silence is not the absence of communication. Silence is a weapon, and the person who wields it controls the entire room. Watch what happens in any negotiation, any argument, any high-stakes conversation. The moment tension rises, the average person panics. They rush to fill the void. They over-explain their position. They reveal their insecurities. They hand over information they never intended to share. The dominant player. They sit back. They wait. They let the silence do the work. But here is the distinction that separates amateurs from masters. There are 2 kinds of silence, and only one of them gives you power. Passive silence looks weak, shoulders hunched, eyes darting. The body screams discomfort, even when the mouth stays closed. This silence says you have nothing to offer. It invites aggression. Dominant silence is different. The posture stays open. The gaze stays steady. No nodding, no verbal affirmations, No agreement sounds, just stillness, complete, controlled stillness. And this is what breaks people. When you refuse to give feedback, something fascinating happens. The other person starts projecting. They fill the silence with their own fears, their own doubts, their own insecurities. They think you are judging them. They think you know something they do not. They think they have made a mistake somewhere, and now they scramble to find it. You have said nothing, but you have controlled everything. History proves this. The most feared interrogators never yelled. They never threatened. They sat across from their targets in complete silence. And within minutes, confessions poured out. Not because of force, because humans cannot tolerate the weight of another person's silent attention. You have felt this. Think back to a conversation where someone just looked at you. No reaction, no encouragement. Remember how quickly you started second-guessing yourself. How you suddenly felt the need to explain things that needed no explanation. That was not your weakness. That was their strategy. The next time someone challenges you, resist the urge to respond immediately. Hold the silence for 3 seconds longer than feels comfortable. Watch their face change. Watch them squirm. Watch them reveal exactly what they were trying to hide. You will catch the shift. And this brings us to something even more dangerous, because silence controls conversations. But the next move controls something far more valuable. It controls time itself. Now pay close attention, because this next move is often mistaken for incompetence. It is not. Move number 3. Time colonization. You know that person who always runs late? The one who schedules calls, then reschedules them, who sends you messages that require responses but contain nothing of substance. You have probably written them off as disorganized, inconsiderate, maybe even careless. You missed it completely. What looks like poor time management is actually a dominance display so subtle that most people never recognize it for what it is. Time theft. And it is not about the minutes they are stealing from your day. It is about what those stolen minutes prove. When someone monopolizes your time with trivialities, they are not wasting it. They are claiming it. They are demonstrating, to you and to themselves, that your schedule bends to accommodate theirs, that your priorities can be interrupted by their whims. Think about the last time your boss called you into a meeting that could have been an email, or a client made you wait 45 minutes past the scheduled time, or someone important in your life demanded you drop everything for something that turned out to be nothing. You felt it. That subtle shift in the power dynamic, that quiet acknowledgement that their time matters more than yours. This is what I call colonizing mental real estate. Because here is the truth that changes everything. If someone controls your schedule, they control your reality. Full stop. Watch how this plays out at the highest levels. History proves this with brutal consistency. Powerful figures throughout time have made subordinates wait. Not because they were busy, because waiting is submission made visible. Every minute you spend anticipating someone else's arrival, you are thinking about them, planning around them, orienting your existence toward their timeline. They have moved into your head and started rearranging the furniture. And it gets darker. The most sophisticated practitioners of this move do not just steal your time. They fill it with useless contact, meaningless check-ins, trivial requests that require just enough effort to keep you engaged but deliver nothing of value. This creates psychological dependency. Your brain starts to anticipate their intrusions. You leave gaps in your day for their potential demands. You have been trained, and you did not even notice the training happening. Now flip this around. Think about the people who never wait for anyone, who respond to messages when they choose, not when expected, whose calendars are fortresses that others must petition to enter. These are not rude people. They are people who understand that time is the only non-renewable resource, and whoever controls its allocation controls the relationship. So ask yourself right now, whose schedule are you organized around? Whose trivial requests do you prioritize over your own essential work? Who has colonized your mental real estate without paying rent? The answer reveals exactly where you stand in hierarchies you never consciously agreed to join. But here is where the trap deepens. Because the next move takes everything we have discussed and weaponizes it in a way that will make you question every interaction you have ever had. And this brings us to a secret even more dangerous: how to break someone's train of thought without touching them. Move number 4. The disruption protocol. Every conversation you have ever had follows invisible rules, rules you never consciously learned, but follow without thinking. When someone asks you a question, you answer it. When a topic is raised, you stay on that topic. When context is given, you expect it to be relevant. These are called conversational maxims. And the people who control rooms, they violate them on purpose. Watch how this plays out. You are in a meeting. You have built your argument carefully. Every point leads to the next. Your logic is airtight. You are about to deliver the conclusion that makes you look brilliant. And then someone interrupts, not with a counter-argument, not with a question. They simply change the subject entirely. They bring up something from 3 meetings ago. They ask about a detail that has nothing to do with what you just said. Your brain freezes, not because you cannot handle the new topic, but because your mental momentum just slammed into a wall. All that careful preparation, scattered. That perfect conclusion, lost in the rubble of a conversation that suddenly went sideways. You feel off. Something is wrong, but you cannot identify what. This is conversational maxim disruption, and it is devastatingly effective. Here is why it works. Your brain operates on something called the OODA loop. Observe, orient, decide, act. It is a military concept developed by a fighter pilot who realized that victory does not go to the fastest or the strongest. It goes to whoever can cycle through this loop faster than their opponent. When someone disrupts the expected flow of conversation, they reset your loop entirely. You were in the decide phase, ready to act, ready to deliver, and suddenly you are thrown back to observe. What just happened? Why did they say that? Where is this going? By the time you reorient, they have already acted. They have already moved the conversation where they wanted it to go. You are playing catch-up in a game you did not know had restarted. The cruelest part? You will blame yourself. You will think you lost your train of thought. You will wonder why you could not keep up. You will never realize that someone deliberately derailed you. Now here is where this gets dangerous. Masters of this technique do not just change subjects randomly. They withhold context. They answer questions you did not ask. They give responses that are technically relevant, but emotionally jarring. Each violation is small enough to seem accidental, but the cumulative effect is disorienting. You walk away from these interactions feeling drained, confused, slightly destabilized, and you have no idea why, because the attack was invisible. But here is the truth that most people are too afraid to see. Once you recognize this pattern, you become immune to it. You see the disruption coming, you hold your frame, you return calmly to your original point. And now you have a choice. Do you use this against others? because the next move makes this one look gentle. Now, this next law is what separates the masters from the victims. It is the ultimate form of control. Move number 5, the illusion of free will. Everything you have learned so far, the geometry, the silence, the time theft, the disruption, all of it builds to this moment. This is the crown jewel, the technique so elegant, so invisible, that you will defend the very person using it against you. Here is the truth that most people are too afraid to see. You think you make your own choices. You believe that when you decide something, it comes from you. Your preferences, your desires, your free will. But what if the options themselves were designed? What if every path you could possibly choose led exactly where someone else wanted you to go? This is the choice close. And once you understand it, you will never hear a question the same way again. A manipulator never asks an open-ended question. They never say, "Would you like to go out?" because that allows for a no. That gives you an exit. That hands you actual power. Instead, they ask, "Should we go out Tuesday or Thursday?" Stop and realize what this actually means for your future. You are not being asked if you want to go. That decision has already been made for you. You are only being asked to pick the details of your compliance. Tuesday or Thursday, coffee or dinner, your place or mine. Both answers serve them. Both paths lead to their outcome. And the genius of it? You walk away believing you chose this. Psychologist George Simon spent decades studying covert manipulation. His conclusion was devastating. The most effective control maintains the target's illusion of autonomy. The target must believe they are exercising free will. The moment they feel forced, they resist. But when they think they decided, they defend the decision. They commit to it. They become invested in proving it was right. This is what comes next. Your own psychology turns against you. Confirmation, bias kicks in. You start finding reasons why your choice was correct. You dismiss evidence that contradicts it. You become your own jailer, guarding a cell you cannot even see. Think about how often this happens in your life. At work, your boss asks, "Do you want to handle this project solo, or bring in the new hire to shadow you?" Either way, you are doing the project. The only question is how much extra burden you carry. In relationships, in sales conversations, in negotiations, the pattern repeats endlessly. And here is what makes this the most dangerous move of all 5. With the others, there is a chance you might notice. You might feel the silence pressing down. You might sense your time being colonized. You might catch the disruption. But this one feels like freedom. It feels like agency. It feels like you. That is the trap. The cage has no bars because you built it yourself. Watch how this plays out. But here is where the trap is set. Because these 5 moves do not operate in isolation, they build on each other. They compound. And when someone deploys all of them together, the effect is something far more sinister than the sum of its parts. And now we arrive at the final law, the one that binds everything together. The Subliminal Dominance framework, the geometry of submission, the weaponization of silence, time colonization, the disruption protocol, the illusion of free will. They all share one terrifying truth. The moment someone sees you trying, you have already lost. True power is invisible. It leaves no fingerprints, no evidence, no memory. Consider what the record shows about Richard Bandler, the co-creator of neuro-linguistic programming. Bandler reportedly produced life-changing psychological effects in patients who, after the fact, could not explain what had happened to them. They could not remember the shift. They could not account for the change. They simply woke up different. These were not subtle improvements. These were profound behavioral transformations, and the subjects had zero conscious record of the influence taking place. Think about what that means. The most effective control operates entirely below the conscious radar. The target never detects it, never questions it, never fights back. Because, as far as their mind is concerned, nothing happened. This is the final law of subliminal dominance. If they see you trying, you have failed. If they feel manipulated, you have failed. If they can point to the moment you influenced them, you have failed. The masters of any room understand this at a cellular level. They do not announce their power. They do not flex their authority. They do not need anyone to acknowledge their position. They simply occupy space in a way that rewrites the rules of engagement before anyone realizes the game has changed. You have felt this. You have been in rooms where someone controlled everything without saying a word, without making demands, without obvious displays of dominance, and you walked away thinking it was your idea to defer to them, your choice to follow their lead. It was not. You were being rewritten, and you never saw the hand holding the pen. Here is the challenge I am leaving you with. Stop reacting to the room. Start rewriting it. Every space you enter is already running a script. Hierarchies are being established before the first word is spoken. Power is being distributed based on invisible signals most people never notice. But you notice now. You understand the geometry of submission. You know how silence becomes a weapon. You recognize when someone colonizes your time. You can spot the disruption protocol the moment it activates, and you see through the illusion of free will that keeps most people compliant. The question is no longer whether these dynamics exist. The question is what you do with this knowledge. You can continue being the one who gets positioned, the one who waits, the one who reacts, or you can become the invisible architect, the one who shapes the room before anyone realizes there was a blueprint. The choice appears to be yours. But if you have understood anything from this conversation, you know that choice itself can be engineered. The only question remaining is this: who is engineering yours?